Everybody, Cowboys won. Haven't seen you since then. Go Cowboys, right? All right, so what's going to happen on Friday here? We have a test. Your second Unit 2 test. I'm serious. It's our third test of the 9 weeks before the end of the grading period, which is next Friday. So everything's due by next Friday. I'll be updating your grades as the week goes on. Giving you lots of opportunities to get stuff turned in. Okay, now, on your PSAT coming up on Wednesday, you can't use a yellow calculator, but it's going to have a Desmos calculator built into the test and available during the entire math section. Kind of think of like your tests. Like there's a button you click for the calculator, Desmos. All right. Make sure you turn these two in because those are going in soon, right? All right. And if you have a Chromebook, it can help you reduce some fractions. Everyone's looking up here, right? Not your phones, no headphones, right? All right. So looking up here. On your assignment from last time I was here, you should be able to find slope from a table from those notes. But what if it's sideways? Let's talk about it right now. So first of all, rate of change. If you could tell me what does rate of change mean in one word, what's another word for rate of change? So rise over run, yes, but what's one word? Rate of change means what? Slope. Everybody, what does rate of change mean? Slope. You got to know it. Slope, which is rise over run. Okay. So rate of change means slope. Okay. And slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay. So that's why when we have a table, we do what I call bird beaks. Okay. But I only showed it to you vertically, a normal table. What if it's sideways like this? Okay. Well, first of all, we know f of x is y, right? And we're going to do the change in y over the change in x. So you're going to do the bird beaks here and here. So we're going to do the bottom y change first. And I'm going to do the right number minus the left number. 13 minus 16. Okay. And then I'm going to do the top x row. To do the right minus the left. 3 minus 1. Do you see that I'm subtracting the y's and then I'm subtracting the x's? Right minus left on the y over right minus left on the x. Now, I can take that to Desmos and I can type it in here. 13 minus 16 in parentheses divided by 3 minus 1. It gives me a decimal. I don't want a decimal because slope is rise over run. So I hit this slope button right here. Okay. Does everyone know where the slope, the fraction button is? You click that, it turns it into a fraction. Okay. So we get negative 3 over 2 as our slope for this table. Doesn't matter which set of points you pick, they just have to match. Okay. As long as it's linear. So we're going to talk about slope. This is slope from a graph. We kind of already did this back on 9-9 when we talked about key features. That assignment had some rise over run. That's all we're doing today. Okay, should be old news, right? Sorry, middle school news, stuff we've already done this year a little bit. We're going to make sure we understand this. So let's do that. All right, let's start with this. Okay, go ahead and write this down. All right, rate of change from a graph. So how do you find the slope from a graph? Hopefully you already know this. You need to use 2 points, right? two sets of coordinate points from our function that are whole numbers, okay? You're not going to use anything that's not on the grid, okay? You're going to use two sets of coordinate points from our function that are whole numbers, and we can find these in the cross sections on our graph along the function, okay? I call them grid points on the grid. You may have heard a teacher call them pretty points. I'm not going to be talking about pretty points in this class. I'm going to call them grid points. If you want to call them pretty points, that's fine. Okay, just my style, you know what I'm saying? Grid points. All right, that being said, here's some more stuff to write down. When we read from left to right, right? Left to right. So when you do slope, you do it from left towards the point on the right. It's very important that you start at the point on the left and you move towards the point on the right. When you start on the left, you're going to go either up or down. That's your rise. You can rise up. You can also rise down. Okay? And then you're going to run to the right. You always run right because you start on the left. But you might rise up or rise down. Okay? Everyone got this down? Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the picture here. Where's that? Okay. Okay, now look, there's 2 points here. Does everyone see that those 2 points are on the grid? Now look, like this point, like this is not on the grid. This is not on the grid. Okay, look off to the right. Even this, like let me zoom in on that. Like, do you see how that's like barely below the line? Like this would not be a pretty point. That's an ugly point, okay? So that is not on the grid. So I'm just showing you those. It has to literally be on the grid. All right, so let's go ahead and do this rise over run. So first of all, I'm going to start on left or the right. Okay, I find my point on the griddy on the left, and I'm going to rise. Now, do I rise up or down in that situation? Well, looks like it's rising down 3. And then it looks like it's running right 5. Okay, we're going to fill this in. It did rise, quote unquote, down 3. So please remember, down is negative. Does everyone know that down is negative? Down is what? Negative. Okay, and then when you run, it's always positive because you're always running to the right. So we got -3 over 5. Since it goes down to the right, what kind of slope is that called? Negative. Negative slope. We got -3 over 5. Okay. All right. So, what kind of points do I need? Points that are on the what? On the lines, on the grid, right? We start on the left, and then we do from left to right foot on the griddy. All right, well, anyways. You gotta be paying attention. That was a good one. That was my best joke. Okay, thank you. So now you start on the left before we do right foot on the griddy. You know what I'm saying? All right, so rise 2, run 3. Since it goes up and to the right, it's positive. So we're going to call this a positive slope. From left to right, so it did rise 2. And it went over to the right 3. Sorry, I'm not able to like fit this in, so I'm just retyping it. 2/3. You can actually write it in the tiny box if you want to. It's a very tiny box. Okay. Any questions on that? Flip it over. Let's talk about special cases. Make sure you got your points on the grid. Are we good to flip it over? Going once. Going twice. Okay, on the back. Look, we have some weird situations. Go ahead and put some arrowheads on this. This is a left to right line. You know, it's what? Left to right, and then up and down. So do you see these unique situations? These lines are on the grid literally, like they line up with the grid. So I want you to draw yourself a stick man. Okay? Stick man's gonna help us out here. This stick man is hanging out on this line, right? He's straight chilling. Know what I'm saying? Crashed out, as it were. So go ahead and write that this guy is taking 0 effort to stand, so it's a 0 slope. If your stick man can stand, takes 0 effort, so it's a 0 slope. Okay? How do I know this, or how do I say this? It's a horizontal line, so it has a 0 slope. Notice horizontal has an O, 0 is like an O. Horizontal has a 0 slope. Cool? Between those 2 points, it does not rise up or down. The rise on top is 0. The run on bottom, between this point, left to right, is 4. 0 divided by 4 is a 0 slope. Okay? If it's horizontal from left to right, stickman can stand, 0 slope. Okay? Now, stickman lives in a world of gravity, and he does not have Spider-Man powers, he doesn't have sticky shoes, or magnetic shoes, or anything weird. He can't defy gravity. So, all that being said, can stickman walk on the wall? So we're going to draw sad stickman falling down. Infinitely, forever. Pondering life. So sad. Okay, so stickman can't stand on the wall. Here's how I say it. He is unable to stand. Therefore, it is undefined. Right? If you want me to prove it, who wants me to prove that you can't stand on a wall? All right, so you can't stand on a wall unless you're Superman or superpowered, but this is just a regular stick guy. So this is a vertical line. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. Unable to stand, undefined. So if you take these 2 points, it rises 4, but it does not run. And you cannot have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. That is unable to happen. That is undefined. So again, you cannot divide by 0. You cannot have a vertical line. It violates the vertical line test. It's undefined. Okay? Now, can we take that information and do some examples here? Yes, we can. I'll give you a second to make sure you have that down, and let's do number 1, 2, 3, and 4 real quick. Ready? All right, so check it out. We're going to zoom in on number 1. Ready? Number 1. First things first, I need to find grid points. Grid points. So go ahead and draw these. Got a grid point right here. Y'all seen that on the y-axis? This is a grid point, and then this is not, but this is. Do you see those 2 grid points? Do I start on the left or the right? Start on the left, and then you can right foot, whatever. All right, so here we go. Up 2. See how it has to rise upwards, up 2, and then it runs to the right 3. That is 2 over 3, right? Now, by the way, if you ever need to see if this reduces, you would go over here, type in 2 over 3, hit the fraction button, and it'll reduce it for you. Use Desmos every time you have a fraction to see if it reduces, okay? Now, number 2, this is a horizontal line. Is that 0 or undefined? What do you think? Help me out. Is that 0 or undefined? Stickman can stand. If he can stand and it takes 0 effort, that's a 0 slope, okay? 0 horizontal, okay? What about 3? This one's vertical up and down. What do I know about Stickman in a vertical line? Just can't stand it. Can't stand, you're unable to, then it's undefined. All right? Number 4, let's get some grid points. Here's a grid point. Here's a grid point. It goes down, start on the left, it goes down 3. So everybody, down is negative. Negative 3 over to the right 1. So that's negative 3 over 1. You can type it into Desmos, but anytime you're dividing by 1, it's just that whole number on top. So negative 3 is your answer, okay? So just to make sure I have everything on here. Okay, so I'm gonna pat. Oh, cool. I'm gonna pass out the assignment and I'm gonna let y'all work on that. It's a bunch of rise over run. Start on the left, count the rise, count the run. Make sure you're using grid points, pretty points, okay? Please.